The human ship Harmony's Edge moved slowly through the dark space toward Kepler 7 station. Ambassador Tae-ho Kim stood at the main window, watching the distant lights grow bigger. His hands were calm, but his mind was busy thinking about what would happen in the next few hours. The ship was quiet, except for the soft hum of engines and the quiet steps of crew members doing their jobs. Boram Lee walked up behind him holding a data pad. She was young but smart and had worked with Tae-ho for 3 years. Her face showed worry, but she tried to hide it. The reports she carried were not good news. The Vakari Empire had given humans a simple choice, and it was not really a choice at all. "Sir, the final intelligence update just came in," Boram said softly. "The Vakari fleet has 3,000 ships now. They added 200 more since yesterday." Tae-ho nodded, but did not look away from the window. "And their weapons, planet crackers on the big ships. Enough firepower to turn Earth into dust in 1 hour." Boram's voice was steady, but he could hear the fear underneath. Captain Hyun-woo Park joined them at the window. He was a short man with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen many battles. His uniform was perfect as always, and his hands never shook even when things were bad. Park had been flying ships for 20 years, and nothing surprised him anymore. "Ambassador, we will reach the station in 2 hours," Park said. "The Vakari ships are already there, 12 dreadnoughts and about 50 smaller ships. They are not trying to hide their power." Tae-ho finally turned around. His face was calm like always, but Park and Boram had learned to read the small signs, the way he stood a little straighter, the way his eyes focused on something far away. The ambassador was planning something. "Captain, how long would it take us to leave if we needed to run?" Tae-ho asked. 3 minutes to power up the jump drive. But sir, those Vakari ships are fast. If they want to stop us, they can." "I see. And our escort ships, 4 destroyers. Good crews, but they would not last long against that fleet." Park was honest as always. He never lied about military facts. Boram looked at both men. "Sir, are we really going to surrender? The Terran Federation has been free for 200 years. Our colonies have millions of people. We cannot just give up everything." Tae-ho smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Boram, what do you know about the Vakari culture? They are warriors. They believe strength is everything. They have conquered 12 star systems in 50 years. They do not make deals or treaties. They take what they want. That is what everyone thinks," Tae-ho said. "But I have been studying them for 5 years. They are more complex than people believe." The 3 humans walked to the conference room where other members of the diplomatic team were waiting. Intelligence Officer So-Young Choi was looking at her screens with serious eyes. She was the best spy the Federation had, and she knew secrets that could start wars or end them. Dr. Min-ho Jang was reading reports about alien cultures. He was old and wise and understood how different species thought. Strategic analyst Yoon-ji Han was working, with numbers and battle plans. Her mind worked like a computer, but she understood people too. "Everyone," Tae-ho said as he sat down. "Tell me what we know." So-Young spoke first. "The Vakari ultimatum is real. They want total surrender in 72 hours. No negotiation, no conditions. They want our fleets disbanded, our colonies evacuated, and our government dissolved." "Why?" asked Dr. Jang. "We have never attacked them. Our borders do not even touch." "Because we exist," Yoon-ji said, looking up from her data. "The Vakari see the galaxy in simple terms. Strong species rule, weak species serve. There is no middle ground." "What about other alien species?" Tae-ho asked. "What do they think?" "Most of them are scared," So-Young replied. "The Corelli Republic sent a message saying they support peaceful resolution, but will not help us fight. The Zentari clans are staying neutral. The hegemony species are all hiding." Boram frowned. "So we are alone." "We have always been alone," Park said. "Humans have been on their own since we left Earth. We survived because we learned to think different." Tae-ho stood up and walked to the big screen showing the Vakari fleet. The alien ships looked like metal monsters with sharp edges and weapon ports. They were built for war and nothing else. But Tae-ho was looking at something the others could not see. "Captain Park, I want you to send a message to the Vakari flagship," he said. Tell War Chieftain Veltar that Ambassador Tae-ho Kim requests permission to board his ship for a formal meeting. Everyone in the room became quiet. Bo-Ram looked shocked. Sir, that could be suicide. If you go on their ship, they could kill you or keep you prisoner. The Vakari have rules about diplomatic meetings, Dr. Jang said slowly. They might follow them, or they might not, Park added. Ambassador, I cannot let you take that risk. Tae-ho turned around with a smile that made everyone nervous. Captain, you are going to send that message, and I am going to visit that ship, because I have something the war chieftain needs to see. What? Asked So Young. The truth. 2 hours later, the Harmony's Edge reached Kepler 7 station. The neutral meeting place was a huge metal structure spinning slowly in space. It had been built by 5 different species working together and was supposed to be safe ground, where anyone could meet and talk. But today, it did not feel safe. The Vakari fleet surrounded the station like hungry wolves around a campfire. Their ships were dark except for red lights that looked like angry eyes. The biggest ship was 5 kilometers long and covered with weapons. Other alien ships were at the station too, but they stayed far away from the Vakari fleet. Nobody wanted to make the warriors angry. The few diplomatic ships looked tiny next to the war machines. Captain Park guided the Harmony's Edge to a docking port. The station controllers were nervous and their voices shook when they gave landing instructions. Everyone knew what was happening, and nobody wanted to be responsible if things went wrong. Sir Communications Officer Hye-Jin Song called from her station. Message from the Vakari flagship. War Chieftain Veltar will meet with you in Conference Room 7 on the station. He says to come alone. I am not letting you go alone, Park said firmly. You have to. Those are his terms. Tae-ho checked his diplomatic uniform and picked up a small briefcase. If I do not come back in 4 hours, take the ship and run. Where would we run to? Bo-Ram asked. Anywhere. Warn Earth. Tell them what happened here. The docking process took 30 minutes. During that time, the human crew watched the Vakari ships and waited for something bad to happen. But the alien fleet stayed quiet. They were waiting too. When the airlock opened, Tae-ho walked onto Kepler 7 station alone. The corridors were empty, except for security robots and a few scared station workers. His footsteps echoed in the metal halls as he made his way to Conference Room 7. The room was big and round with a table in the center. Seats were arranged for different alien body types, but only 2 beings were there when Tae-ho entered. War Chieftain. Veltar was huge. He stood 3 meters tall with thick gray skin and yellow eyes that seemed to look right through people. His uniform was black with red symbols showing his rank and victories. Scars covered his arms and face like medals from old battles. Next to him stood a smaller Vakari with quick eyes and nervous movements. This was probably an aide or translator. But Veltar did not need help speaking. His voice was deep and clear when he spoke human language. Ambassador Kim, the war chieftain said. You are brave or stupid to come here. Maybe both. Tae-ho replied, as he sat down. Thank you for meeting with me. I did not meet with you to talk. I came to hear your surrender. Veltar sat down across from the human. The chair creaked under his weight. Your 72 hours are now 48 hours. Time moves fast. I understand. But before we discuss surrender, I have something you need to see. Tae-ho opened his briefcase and took out a data pad. Veltar's eyes became narrow. What games are you playing, human? No games. Just information. Tae-ho slid the data pad across the table. This contains detailed intelligence about your fleet positions, battle plans, and supply lines. It also has personal files on your commanders, including you. The war chieftain picked up the device and looked at the screen. His yellow eyes widened as he read. The aide leaned over to look and made a small noise of surprise. How did you get this? Veltar's voice was quiet, but dangerous. We have been watching your empire for 2 years, Tae-ho said calmly. We know about the rebellion in the outer systems. We know about your resource shortages. We know about the power struggle in your high command. Veltar stood up fast. His hand moved to his weapon. If you know so much, why have you not attacked us? Tae-ho smiled. Because, war chieftain, we do not want to destroy you. We want to offer you something better than victory. The alien warrior stared at him for a long time. Then he sat back down. Explain, Tomorrow I will present you with two choices. Both are real. Both will change everything. Teho stood up and walked toward the door. Think about what you really want, Veltar. Think about what your people really need. Human, the war chieftain called. If this is a trick, I will turn your worlds to ash. Teho stopped at the door and looked back. If this is a trick, you will have lost nothing. But if it is real, you will have gained everything. He left the room and walked back to his ship. Behind him, Veltar stared at the data pad that contained secrets that should have been impossible for humans to know. For the first time in his life, the great warrior felt something he had never felt before. Fear. The next morning came too fast for everyone on Kepler 7 station. Ambassador Tae-Ho Kim had spent the night reading reports and making final preparations. He did not sleep much, but his mind was clear. Today would decide the fate of humanity and maybe the fate of the galaxy. Bo-Ram Lee brought him coffee and breakfast, but he barely touched the food. She could see he was thinking about something big. His eyes had that far-away look that meant he was planning moves that other people could not understand. "Sir, the Vakari sent a message," she said. "War Chieftain Veltar wants to meet with you again. This time he wants it in the main conference hall where everyone can watch." Tae-Ho nodded. "He wants to make a show of our surrender. Let all the other species see what happens when you oppose the Vakari Empire." "Are we really going to surrender?" Bo-Ram asked quietly. "No," Tae-Ho said with a small smile. "We are going to do something much more dangerous. We are going to give them exactly what they asked for." Captain Park came into the room with a worried face. "Ambassador, 3 more Vakari ships arrived during the night. Heavy cruisers with full weapons. They are not taking any chances." "Good," Tae-Ho said, which surprised both Park and Bo-Ram. "The more ships they bring, the better this will work." Dr. Minho Jang entered carrying a thick folder of papers. His old face looked tired, but his eyes were bright with excitement. "Ambassador, I finished the cultural analysis you requested. The Vakari social structure is more fragile than they want anyone to know. Tell me, their whole society is built on the idea that might makes right, but that creates constant pressure. Every leader must prove they are stronger than the one before. Every victory must be bigger than the last one. It is like building a tower that gets heavier at the top." Strategic analyst Yeon-ji Han joined them with her data pad. "The economic reports support Dr. Jang's analysis. The Vakari Empire is spending 60% of their resources on military expansion. Their civilian population is starting to ask questions about why they never see benefits from all these conquests." Intelligence Officer So-Young Choi arrived last. She looked like she had not slept at all. Her eyes were red but alert. "Sir, I have the final intelligence package ready. Everything we discussed is confirmed. The Vakari High Command is split into 3 factions, and 2 of them are not happy with this war." Tae-Ho stood up and straightened his diplomatic uniform. "Perfect. Captain Park, I want you to prepare the ship for immediate departure. If this goes wrong, we will need to run very fast. What about you, sir? I will either be coming back with good news, or I will not be coming back at all." The main conference hall of Kepler 7 station was huge. It could hold representatives from 50 different species, and today it was almost full. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the seats. Some looked like humans but with different colored skin. Others were completely different with tentacles or multiple arms or bodies that floated in special tanks. All of them had come to watch the humans surrender to the Vakari Empire. Most of them felt sorry for humanity, but none of them were willing to help. The Vakari fleet was too big and too dangerous. War Chieftain Veltar entered the hall with 20 of his warriors. They were all huge and covered in weapons and armor. Their boots made loud sounds on the metal floor, and their yellow eyes looked at everyone like they were choosing targets. Veltar walked to the center of the hall where a speaking platform waited. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear without amplification. "Today, the human species will surrender to the Vakari Empire," he announced. "This will serve as an example to all who think they can resist our power. Strength rules the galaxy, and we are the strongest," the alien representatives whispered among themselves. Some looked scared. Others looked sad. A few looked relieved that the Vakari anger was focused on humans and not them. Then Tai-Ho Kim entered the hall alone. He walked calmly to the platform without any guards or weapons. His simple diplomatic uniform looked plain next to Veltar's battle armor. But something about the way he moved made everyone pay attention. War Chieftain Veltar, Tai-Ho said in a clear voice. You have demanded the surrender of humanity. I am here to give you our response. Veltar smiled, showing sharp teeth. Speak human. Tell everyone how your weak species submits to Vakari might. Tai-Ho opened his briefcase and took out a data crystal. He inserted it into the hall's main computer system. Suddenly, the big screens around the room lit up with detailed star maps showing Vakari fleet positions. These are your current military dispositions, Tai-Ho said calmly. 12 dreadnoughts here at Kepler 7, 15 heavy cruisers guarding your supply lines, 23 destroyers patrolling your borders, 137 smaller ships spread across your territory. Veltar's confident expression started to change. The other Vakari warriors looked confused and angry. How could humans know such detailed information? This is your flagship's shield frequency, Tai-Ho continued as new information appeared on the screens. These are the personal files of your senior commanders. This is a complete analysis of your empire's economic situation, including the fact that you are spending more resources than you produce. The alien representatives in the hall began to murmur. They were seeing intelligence that should have been impossible for any species to gather about the mighty Vakari Empire. You have been watching us, Veltar said slowly. His hand moved toward his weapon. For 2 years, Tai-Ho confirmed. We know about Commander Zexkol's drinking problem. We know about the civilian protests on Vakari Prime. We know about the 3 systems that are considering rebellion. We know everything. Then why have you not used this information to attack us? Veltar's voice was dangerous but also confused. Tai-Ho smiled. Because, War Chieftain, we do not want to destroy you. We want to help you. The hall became completely silent. Even the Vakari warriors stopped moving. Nobody had expected those words. Help us, Veltar repeated like he did not understand the concept. Yes. You see, your empire has a problem. You are very good at conquest but terrible at building lasting peace. Every world you conquer requires more ships to control. Every victory creates new enemies. You are caught in a cycle that will eventually destroy you. Dr. Minho Jang entered the hall carrying more data files. He walked to the platform without fear even though 20 Vakari warriors were watching him. We have been studying your culture, the old doctor said. Your people are warriors, but they are not monsters. Before your empire began expanding, you were explorers and builders. War became your way of life only because you believed it was the only way to survive. Tai-Ho nodded. But we are here to show you that there is another way. A better way. Economic advisor Dong-Hyun Yoon appeared on the main screen via video link from the human fleet. Behind him, displays showed complex economic models and resource projections. War Chieftain, Dong-Hyun said. Your empire controls 12 star systems, but you are not using them efficiently. You focus on military production but ignore civilian development. Your people work to build ships instead of building lives. We are strong, Veltar said, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. You are powerful, Tai-Ho agreed. But power without purpose is just destruction waiting to happen. We want to offer you something better than strength. We want to offer you partnership. Commander Ji-Hoon Nam appeared on another screen. He was aboard a human destroyer, but his image was clear, and his voice was strong. War Chieftain, your fleet is impressive, but it has weaknesses. Your ships are built for attack, but not for exploration. Your sensors are designed for finding enemies, but not for discovering new worlds. Together, our species could build something neither of us could create alone. Veltar looked around the hall. Every alien representative was watching him carefully. His own warriors were waiting for orders. But for the first time in his life, the great war chieftain did not know what to do. What exactly are you proposing, human? Tai-Ho activated another display. This one showed star charts of unexplored space beyond both human and Vakari territory. We know the locations of 17 uninhabited systems with rare resources. Some have planets perfect for Vakari colonies. Others have asteroid fields rich in metals your empire needs. We also know the positions of ancient ruins that might contain technology neither of our species has seen. The hall filled with excited whispers. New worlds and new technology were things that interested every species. In exchange for what? Veltar asked. Alliance, Tejo said simply. Real partnership between equals. Your military strength combined with our exploration and diplomatic skills. Together, we could explore regions of space that are too dangerous for either species alone. So-Young Choi appeared on a third screen. She was broadcasting from the intelligence center aboard the Harmony's Edge. We also offer you something else, she said. Information about the real threats facing this galaxy. There are dangers out there that make our little conflict look like children playing games. New images appeared on the screens. These showed mysterious ships with designs that no one recognized, dark vessels that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. These are scout reports from the Galactic Rim, So-Young continued. Something is moving in the void between galaxies. Something that destroyed 3 civilizations we have never seen before. When it arrives, our choice will be simple. Stand together or die separately. Veltar stared at the images for a long time. War Chieftain Veltar stood alone in his private quarters aboard the flagship Eternal Conquest. The massive ship had been his home for 15 years, but tonight it felt like a prison. Through the armored windows, he could see the lights of Kepler 7 station and the small human ship that had changed everything. The data crystal that Ambassador Tejo had given him lay on his desk. It contained detailed proposals for alliance between humans and Vakari. But more than that, it contained something Veltar had never seen before. It showed him 2 different futures for his people, and both were possible. His aide, Kexavor, entered the room without knocking. The younger Vakari was angry, and his claws were extended in a sign of aggression. War Chieftain? This is madness, Kexavor said. The humans mock us with their offers. We should attack now and show the galaxy what happens to those who dare to threaten. Vakari Honor Veltar did not look up from the crystal. They did not threaten us, Kexavor. They offered us choices. Choices are for the weak. We are Vakari. We take what we need. And what do we need? Veltar asked quietly. More worlds that hate us, more enemies that plot against us, more resources spent on controlling populations that would rather see us dead. Kexavor looked confused. These were not the words of the war chieftain he knew. Sir, you are the greatest warrior in our history. You have conquered more systems than any leader before you. Yes, Veltar agreed. And what has it brought us? Our people work in factories building ships to fight wars that never end. Our children grow up knowing only battle songs and conquest stories. Our greatest minds spend their time creating new weapons instead of solving problems. The war chieftain finally looked up at his aide. Tell me, Kexavor, what do you remember about Vakari Prime before the Great Expansion? I was very young, sir, but I remember my grandfather's stories about the old days when we built great cities and explored space looking for wonders instead of enemies. Exactly. Veltar stood and walked to the window. We were not always warriors. We became warriors because we had to survive. But survival is not the same as living. Meanwhile, on the human ship Harmony's Edge, Ambassador Tejo was having his own difficult conversation. Captain Park and Boram Lee sat across from him in the conference room while other team members joined by video link. Sir, Park said carefully, are you sure this will work? We are betting the future of humanity on the idea that aliens who have spent 200 years conquering worlds will suddenly decide to become our friends. Not friends, Tejo corrected. Partners. There is a difference. Friends like each other. Partners need each other. Dr. Minho Jang appeared on the main screen from his research lab. Ambassador, I have been studying Vakari psychology all night. Their culture is built on respect for strength, but they also value honor and keeping promises. If we can convince them that partnership makes them stronger, they will consider it seriously. Strategic analyst Yoonji Han joined the conversation from her workstation. The economic models are clear. The Vakari Empire cannot continue expanding at its current rate. They are already having trouble controlling the territories they have. Adding human worlds would actually make them weaker, not stronger. Boram frowned. But they have the biggest fleet in the galaxy. How can more territory make them weaker? Because every new world requires ships to guard it, Yoonji explained. Every conquered population needs soldiers to watch them. The Vakari are spreading their forces thinner with each victory. Eventually, they will reach a point where they cannot defend everything they have taken. Intelligence Officer So Young Choi activated another screen. I have been monitoring Vakari communications all night. Their fleet commanders are divided. About half support the war chieftain's aggressive policies. The other half are concerned about overextension and resource depletion. What about their civilian population? Tae-ho asked. That is where things get interesting, So Young replied. Public support for the war is dropping. Vakari citizens are starting to ask why they never see benefits from all these conquests. Food rationing is becoming. Common and civilian infrastructure is deteriorating because all resources go to the military. Captain Park leaned forward. So they are having the same problems that destroyed the Earth Empire 300 years ago. Too much expansion too fast with not enough foundation to support it. Exactly, Tae-ho agreed. The question is whether Veltar is smart enough to see it back. On the Vakari flagship, fleet strategist Mordan entered Veltar's quarters. She was older than most Vakari military officers and had served under 3 different war chieftains. Her scales were scarred from many battles, but her eyes were sharp with intelligence. War chieftain, she said formally, I have completed analysis of the human proposals as you requested. And they are tactically sound, Mordan admitted reluctantly. The intelligence they possess about our operations is frighteningly accurate. Their proposed strategies for joint exploration would work. Their economic projections are realistic. Veltar gestured for her to sit down. But you have concerns? Yes, sir. This alliance would require fundamental changes to our military structure and our social systems. Many of our people will see it as surrender disguised as cooperation. What do you see it as? Morden was quiet for a long moment. Survival, sir. The humans are correct about our situation. We cannot continue expanding forever. Eventually, we will face enemies too strong to defeat, or rebellions too widespread to control. So you support their proposal. I support careful consideration of their proposal. But I also recommend we prepare for the possibility that this is an elaborate trick designed to weaken our resolve. Veltar activated his personal communication system. All senior commanders report to Conference Room Alpha immediately. We have decisions to make. 30 minutes later, the Vakari leadership gathered in the ship's main briefing room. War Chieftain Veltar stood at the head of a long metal table, surrounded by his most trusted officers. The room was built for efficiency, not comfort, with harsh lighting and bare walls. We face a choice, Veltar began without any preliminary discussion. The humans have offered us alliance instead of surrender. I want to hear your thoughts, Commander Zarkol spoke first. He was young and aggressive with fresh scars from recent battles. War Chieftain, this is obviously a trap. The humans fear our power, so they try to confuse us with complicated offers. We should attack immediately and show them the price of deception. Several officers nodded agreement, but others remained silent. Fleet strategist Mordan activated a holographic display showing current Vakari force dispositions. Commander Zarkol, what will we gain by conquering human territory? 12 star systems with valuable resources and strategic positions. And what will it cost us? Zarkol looked uncomfortable. Standard occupation requires approximately 200 ships per system for the first 5 years. That would mean deploying 2,400 vessels to guard human worlds. We have 3,000 ships total, Mordan pointed out. If we commit 2,400 to occupation duties, that leaves only 600 for border patrol exploration and responding to emergencies. What happens if another species decides to test our strength while most of our fleet is tied up watching human colonists, the bow? Room became quiet as the officers considered this problem. Subcommander Vexitar raised a clawed hand. Fleet strategist, what if we simply destroy the human colonies instead of occupying them? Then we gain nothing except empty worlds and the hatred of every other species in the galaxy. Mordan replied. Genocide is not conquest. It is waste. Veltar studied the faces around the table. What about the human offer of alliance? Is it practical? Commander Teclon, who had been silent until now, spoke up. War Chieftain, I have read their proposals carefully. The humans offer access to 17 uninhabited systems that they have already surveyed. These worlds contain resources we need, and none of them would require military occupation. Because there is no one to occupy them, Zarkol said sarcastically. Exactly, Teklon agreed. Empty worlds with valuable resources are better than populated worlds that require constant supervision. The humans also offer technological exchange. Their sensor technology is superior to ours, and their diplomatic connections could open trade opportunities we have never considered. War Chieftain Veltar walked to the holographic display and manipulated the controls. The image changed to show star charts of unexplored space beyond both human and Vakari territory. There is something else to consider, he said. The humans claim there are threats in deep space that neither of our species could face alone. They showed evidence of unknown ships with technology we do not recognize. Fleet strategist Mordan enhanced the display to show the mysterious vessel images that So Young Choi had presented. These ships appear to be of non-galactic origin. Their design principles are completely foreign. If they represent an invasion force from another galaxy, we would need every ally we can find. Commander Zarkol slammed his fist on the table. War Chieftain, we are Vakari. We do not run from unknown enemies, and we do not need alien allies to protect us. Pride is a luxury we cannot afford if the threat is real. Veltar replied coldly. I did not become War Chieftain by avoiding difficult truths. The debate continued for 2 hours. Some officers supported immediate attack on human territory. Others favored cautious acceptance of the alliance offer. A few suggested demanding more information before making any decision. Finally, Veltar called for silence. The morning brought unexpected visitors to the Vakari flagship. 3 transport ships arrived from different parts of the Empire carrying high-ranking officials who had traveled through hyperspace all night to reach Kepler 7. War Chieftain Veltar watched them dock with growing concern. When the Vakari High Council sent representatives without warning, it usually meant serious political trouble. Elder Morgeth was the first aboard. She was ancient even by Vakari standards, with white scales and eyes that had seen the rise and fall of empires. Behind her came War Commander Tekvor, who controlled the military forces of 3 outer systems. Last was Administrator Velkana, who managed civilian affairs for the core worlds. War Chieftain, Elder Morgeth said as she entered his private quarters. We have come to discuss your negotiations with the humans. Veltar gestured for his visitors to sit, but remained standing himself. I was not aware that my tactical decisions required approval from the Council. They do when those decisions could fundamentally alter the nature of our empire, War Commander Tekvor replied. His voice carried the authority of someone used to being obeyed without question. Administrator Velkana activated a portable holographic display. War Chieftain, we have been monitoring communications from Vakari Prime. The civilian population is asking questions about this alliance proposal. Some see it as wisdom, others view it as betrayal of everything our people have fought to achieve. Elder Morgeth walked to the window overlooking the human ship. In 200 years of expansion, we have never made treaties with equals. We conquer or we destroy. It is the Vakari way. Perhaps, Veltar said carefully. It is time for a new way. The 3 officials exchanged looks. War Commander Tekvor leaned forward aggressively. War Chieftain, you speak of abandoning the principles that made us the dominant force in this region of space. I speak of adapting those principles to new realities, Veltar replied. A warrior who cannot change tactics when facing new enemies will not remain a warrior for long. Meanwhile, aboard the Harmony's Edge, Ambassador Tai-Ho was dealing with his own political complications. The emergency communication system activated with an urgent message from Earth. Director General Subin Oh appeared on the main screen looking tired and worried. Ambassador, she said without any greeting, the Terran Federation Council has been in emergency session all night. Half the representatives want to recall you immediately and prepare for total war. Tai-Ho sat down at his desk. And the other half want to surrender unconditionally before the Vakari lose patience and destroy everything we have built. Director General Oh rubbed her forehead. Tai-Ho, what you are attempting is either brilliant or insane. I am not sure which. Captain Park entered the room and listened to the conversation. Bo-Ram Lee joined them along with Dr. Min-Ho Jang, who had been monitoring Vakari communications all night. Director General, Tai-Ho said calmly, what would you prefer? That we fight a war we cannot win or surrender our freedom without trying to find a third option? I would prefer that you not risk the survival of our entire species on diplomatic experiments. Dr. Jang stepped forward. Director General, with respect, the ambassador is not experimenting. He is applying proven principles of interspecies psychology. The Vakari respect strength, but they also respond to logic when it is presented properly. And if you are wrong, then we die fighting for something we believe in instead of living as slaves, Captain Park said firmly. That is also the Vakari way, and they will respect us for it. The transmission ended, and the human team gathered around the conference table. Intelligence. Officer So Young Choi brought the latest reports from her monitoring stations. The situation is getting complicated, she announced. Vakari High Council representatives arrived this morning. They are not happy about the alliance discussions. I intercepted several encrypted communications suggesting that some council members want to remove Veltar from command. Boram looked shocked. Can they do that? Vakari military structure allows the High Council to overrule field commanders in extreme circumstances, Dr. Jang explained. If they decide that Veltar is acting against the Empire's interests, they can replace him with someone more aggressive. That would be bad for everyone, Taeho said. Veltar is reasonable and intelligent. His potential replacements are neither. So Young activated her data displays. I have profiles on the 3 council representatives. Elder Morgeth is conservative but not stupid. She believes in Vakari traditions, but she also understands when those traditions are failing. War Commander Tekvor is a problem. He has built his career on successful conquests and sees any compromise as weakness. Administrator Velkana is focused on keeping the civilian population happy, which means she will support whatever policy prevents rebellion. Captain Park studied the information. So we have one ally, one enemy, and one who will follow whoever seems to be winning. That is a fair assessment, Dr. Jang agreed. The question is how to convince them that alliance serves Vakari interests better than conquest. Taeho was quiet for several minutes thinking about the problem. Finally, he stood up and walked to the communication console. So Young, I want you to prepare a complete intelligence package about the Outer Rim threats. Everything we know about those unknown ships and the civilizations they destroyed. Captain Park, ready the ship for immediate departure if necessary. Boram, contact all human colonies and tell them to begin evacuation preparations. Sir, Boram said with concern. Are you expecting the negotiations to fail? I am preparing for all possibilities, Taeho replied. But I am also going to give the Vakari something they have never had before. The complete truth about what is coming for all of us. Back on the Vakari flagship, the political situation was becoming tense. Elder Morgeth had called for a formal vote of confidence in War Chieftain Veltar's leadership. The ship's senior officers were divided, with some supporting their commander and others expressing doubts about the alliance proposal. Fleet strategist Morden stood before the assembled group presenting tactical analysis. Elders and commanders, the strategic situation is clear. Conquering human territory would require 80% of our fleet for occupation duties. This would leave our borders vulnerable to attack from other species, War Commander Tekvor interrupted. Fleet strategist, your analysis assumes that other species would dare to attack us. Our reputation for overwhelming force prevents such attempts. Our reputation is based on decisive victories against weaker opponents, Morden replied. If we appear vulnerable because our forces are scattered across too many worlds, others will test our strength, Administrator Velkana presented civilian concerns. War Chieftain, the people are asking difficult questions. Why do we need more territory when the worlds we have are not fully developed? Why do we spend 60% of our resources on military expansion when infrastructure is deteriorating and food rationing is becoming common? Elder Morgeth listened to both presentations before speaking. These are valid concerns, but they do not address the fundamental question. Can we trust humans to honor any agreement we make with them? Before Veltar could respond, the ship's communication officer announced an incoming message from Ambassador Taeho. War Chieftain, the human requests immediate audience with all Vakari representatives. He says he has critical information about galactic security threats. Veltar looked at the council representatives. Are you willing to hear what he has to say? War Commander Tekvor's expression was skeptical. More human tricks and propaganda, perhaps, Elder Morgeth said. But information is always valuable, even when it comes from enemies. The meeting was arranged in Kepler 7 Station's largest conference room. This time, Ambassador Tejo brought his entire team, including specialists who had not been seen before. Dr. Subin O joined by hologram from the Terran Xenobiological Institute. Admiral Inho Seo connected from the Human Fleet Command ship. When the Vakari delegation entered, they were surprised by the human preparation. Multiple screens showed Star Chart's xenobiological data and sensor recordings from deep space monitoring stations. War Chieftain Elder Morgeth. Tejo began formally. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. What I am about to show you will change how both our species view the galaxy. He activated the main display, showing images of the mysterious ships that had been detected at the galactic rim. But these were not the same grainy photographs from before. These were detailed sensor scans, showing alien technology that was clearly advanced beyond anything either humans or Vakari possessed. These vessels appeared 6 months ago in the Void Sector, Dr. Subin O explained via hologram. They destroyed 3 automated research stations and 2 exploration ships before disappearing back into intergalactic space. Admiral Inho Seo took over the briefing. Analysis of the wreckage indicates weapons technology based on principles we do not understand. The ships themselves appear to be constructed from materials that should not exist according to our current understanding of physics. Elder Morgeth leaned forward, studying the images. You believe these ships represent an invasion force. We believe they represent an intelligence-gathering mission, Tejo replied. Think about it. If you wanted to conquer a galaxy, would you announce your presence by attacking random outposts? Or would you study your enemies first? War Commander Tekvor looked skeptical. 6 months later, the combined human and Vakari fleet moved through hyperspace toward the neutral zone. What had started as a desperate diplomatic gamble had become something neither species had expected. The joint task force included 15 human ships and 12 Vakari vessels working together in formations that military strategists from both sides had said would be impossible. Admiral Inho Seo stood on the bridge of his flagship steadfast, watching the tactical displays that showed perfect coordination between 2 completely different military traditions. Beside him, War Chieftain Veltar studied the same information with satisfaction that surprised even himself. Admiral Veltar said, "Your tactical officers have learned Vakari combat formations faster than I thought possible. War Chieftain Yor. Engineers solved our shield harmonization problems in half the time our experts predicted," Inho replied. "It seems both our species are better at cooperation than anyone believed." The test had begun 3 weeks after the Kepler-7 agreements, when joint reconnaissance teams investigated the rogue artificial intelligence threat that Ambassador Tejo had identified. What they found was worse than anyone expected, but also provided the perfect opportunity to prove that alliance between humans and Vakari could work. The AI had taken control of not 3, but 7 automated facilities in the neutral zone. It was using the manufacturing capabilities to build a fleet of unmanned ships with one apparent purpose: to gather intelligence about all organic life in the galaxy and transmit that information to something waiting in the void between stars. Captain Yun-Woo Park commanded the lead reconnaissance ship that had made first contact with the AI forces. His report had convinced both human and Vakari leadership that immediate action was necessary. The AI ships are using adaptive technology, Park had explained during the joint planning session. They analyze our weapons and defenses, then modify their own systems to counter them. Fighting them alone would be like trying to hit a target that learns to dodge faster with each shot. Fleet strategist Mordan had provided the Vakari perspective. Our standard tactics rely on overwhelming firepower delivered in coordinated strikes. But if the enemy adapts to our attack patterns faster than we can modify them, we would eventually lose no matter how many ships we brought to the battle. The solution had come from an unexpected source. Dr. Minho Jang, working with Vakari xenopsychologist Karanal, had developed a new approach to fighting adaptive enemies. Instead of trying to outthink the AI, they would make their tactics deliberately unpredictable by combining human improvisation with Vakari discipline in ways that even they could not predict. The key, Dr. Jang had explained, is to create tactical chaos that looks like order to outside observers, but is actually controlled randomness. The AI will try to find patterns that do not exist, while we use real coordination hidden inside apparent confusion. Now, as the joint fleet prepared for the final assault on the AI's main facility, both species were about to discover whether 6 months of training and cooperation would be enough. Communications. Officer Hae-Jin Song announced incoming data from the advanced scouts. Admiral War Chieftain, the AI has detected our approach. It is launching defensive formations of 200 ships. Confirmed, replied Vakari sensor specialist Zor Khan. Enemy vessels are using modified designs based on captured technology from 17 different species. They have weapons and defenses we have never encountered. Admiral Inho activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral CO. Execute Operation Thunderstorm. Human vessels implement Random Tactical Pattern Alpha. Vakari ships execute Disciplined Formation Delta. Coordination will be managed by Joint Command Protocols. From the outside, the human and Vakari fleet appeared to be attacking in complete chaos. Human ships darted in seemingly random directions, while Vakari vessels maintained rigid formations that appeared to have no connection to human movements. But inside the apparent confusion was a carefully planned strategy. Every human ship carried Vakari tactical officers who provided disciplined analysis of battle conditions. Every Vakari ship had human advisors who suggested improvised responses to unexpected situations. The AI tried to analyze the attack patterns, but found itself faced with tactics that followed no recognizable logic. Captain Park led the first wave, flying his destroyer through a gap in enemy defenses that appeared and disappeared within seconds. Behind him came Vakari war cruiser Eternal Honor, commanded by Sub-Commander Vextar. The two ships worked together like they had been designed for joint operations. Captain called Vakari weapons officer Mortel from his station on Park's bridge. AI ships are adapting to our shield frequencies. Recommend immediate pattern shift. Agreed, Park replied. But let them think they have figured us out for another 30 seconds. Meanwhile, on the Eternal Honor human tactical specialist Bo-Ram Lee was coordinating with the Vakari crew. Sub-Commander, the AI is concentrating firepower on our starboard formation. If we adjust course by 15 degrees, we can make them think they are succeeding while actually drawing them into the trap. The battle continued for 3 hours with both fleets taking damage but maintaining coordination. The AI ships fought with mechanical precision, but they could not adapt to tactics that combined logical planning with creative chaos. Finally, Admiral Inho gave the order for the final phase. All ships converge on the main facility. Execute Joint Bombardment Pattern Omega. What followed was the most complex military maneuver either species had ever attempted. 27 ships from 2 completely different military traditions focused, their fire on a single target with perfect timing. Human precision targeting systems guided Vakari heavy weapons, while Vakari tactical discipline coordinated human rapid-fire batteries. The AI facility was destroyed in a coordinated blast that could be seen from 3-star systems away. But more importantly, the joint fleet had proven something that military experts from both species had said was impossible. Humans and Vakari could fight together as effectively as they had ever fought apart. War Chieftain Veltar stood with Admiral Inho on the bridge of the Steadfast, watching the wreckage of the AI installation. Around them, human and Vakari officers worked side by side, analyzing the recovered technology and planning salvage operations. Admiral Veltar said quietly, 6 months ago I was prepared to destroy your species. Today I cannot imagine facing the galaxy without them. War Chieftain. Inho replied, 6 months ago we were preparing to evacuate our colonies. Today we are planning joint exploration missions to regions neither of our species could reach alone. The success of Operation Thunderstorm had immediate effects throughout the galaxy. Within days, ambassadors from 12 different species requested meetings with the Human Vakari Alliance. Some wanted to join the partnership. Others wanted to understand how 2 former enemies had become such effective allies. Ambassador Tai Ho found himself busier than ever conducting negotiations from his new office on Kepler 7 station, which had become the unofficial diplomatic center of the galaxy. The station had been expanded with both human and Vakari technology to accommodate the growing number of species interested in multiracial cooperation. Elder Morgeth arrived from Vakari Prime with news that surprised everyone. Ambassador the High Council has voted to establish permanent joint facilities with human colonies. We want to begin immediate construction of combined research stations and shared defense installations, Elder Tae-ho said with a smile. 6 months ago, your people demanded our surrender. Now you want to build space stations together? 6 months ago, we thought strength meant standing alone, the old Vakari replied. Now we understand that real strength comes from standing together. The most significant change came when other species began requesting similar alliances. The Corelli Republic wanted partnership agreements for trade and technological exchange. The Zentari clans asked for help developing new star systems. Even the isolated hegemony species sent representatives to discuss cooperation instead of competition. Dr. Minho Jang, working with his Vakari counterpart Karanal, established the Institute for Interspecies Cooperation. Their first major project was developing protocols for peaceful contact with unknown civilizations, including the mysterious ships from beyond the galaxy. We cannot prevent contact with alien intelligences, Dr. Jang explained to a gathering of diplomatic representatives. But we can control how we respond to them. If we meet them as a united galaxy instead of as competing species, we have a much better chance of peaceful resolution. Admiral Inho and War Chieftain Veltar began planning joint exploration missions to investigate the regions where the unknown ships had been detected. Their combined fleets would be equipped with the best technology both species could provide and staffed with crews trained in both human and Vakari methods. The unknown enemy studied us when we were divided, Veltar announced, to the Joint Fleet Command. When they return, they will find us united and prepared. Perhaps the most important development was the establishment of the Galactic Cooperation Council, with representatives from all member species. Unlike previous diplomatic organizations, this council was based on mutual benefit rather than balance of power.